In a village between lush green fields and a dusty footpath lived an old woman. She was nearly 80, with silver hair neatly tied in a bun and a smile that seemed untouched by time or sorrow. Her mud brick home stood humbly beneath a large neem tree. Inside there were only the basics: two clay pots of water, a single chula for cooking, and a wooden cot in the corner that creaked with every breeze. She lived alone. Her husband died 3 decades ago, and her only son had gone to the city in search of a work and never came back. The villagers often whispered, "Oh, she's alone, nobody in her life, and yet she smiles and she carries no weight at all." That summer, Tanya, a 20-year-old girl, arrived in the village to visit her grandfather. Tanya was broken from within. She had failed her medical entrance exam. Her best friend had betrayed her trust, and her parents constantly compared her to others. Every evening she sat alone, defeated and numb, silently questioning, why is my life so cruel to me? One morning, as Tanya walked past the neem tree, she saw this old lady feeding leftover rice to the birds and humming an old tune gently. Her eyes sparkled with peace, and she smiled at every passerby, even the one who ignored her. Intrigued, Tanya watched this ritual for days together. Finally, one quiet evening, unable to contain her curiosity, Tanya approached her grandmother. "Can I sit with you for a while?" she asked hesitantly. The lady's face lit up. "Of course, dear. Come. The neem tree gives the best shade at this hour." They sat in silence for a moment. Tanya finally spoke. "Grandmom, you have no one. You've been through so much, and yet you smile like your heart has never broken. How?" The lady chuckled softly. "Ah, child, I was not born with the smile. It came after many storms. Would you like to hear my story?" Tanya nodded, eyes wide. "When I was your age, I married a gentleman. He had nothing but love. Our son was our joy, but fate has its way. One winter, my husband fell ill. There was no hospital nearby, and I had no money for help. He died in my arms, whispering, 'Stay strong.' I wanted to die with him, but I lived for my son. I cleaned homes, washed dishes, washed clothes, even begged when there was time, just to feed him and send him to school. Years passed. He got a job in the city and left. I waited for his letters, his calls, and slowly they all stopped. He married and perhaps forgot I exist." Tanya gasped. "You never went to find him?" "I did once," she said, her eyes distant. "He had a new life, a family. I stood across the street from his flat and walked away. Sometimes love means letting go with grace." Tears welled up in Tanya's eyes. "But don't you feel angry, lonely, betrayed?" She smiled again. That same peaceful smile. "I did until I discovered three truths that saved me. Let me share them with you. She held up her fingers gently. 1. Accept what you cannot change. I cannot force Kabir to remember me, but I can choose not to let bitterness eat me alive. I choose peace over pain. 2. Be thankful for what you have. I may not have riches, but I have these birds, this tree, the sky above, and a heart that still feels. Gratitude is not for the wealthy, it's not for the awake. 3. Give more than you take. I feed birds, help children with homework, and give herbs to the sick. Giving make me feel alive, like I still matter. Tanya sat quietly, as if a thousand knots in her chest were slowly untangling. The sun dipped behind the trees, the birds chirped their way back home, and for the first time in weeks, Tanya smiled. Grandmother, thank you, she whispered, holding her hand. You have healed something in me tonight. That night, the two sat under the stars sharing stories, laughter, and even tears. When Tanya returned home, her challenges still remained, but something had shifted. She began each day with a small prayer of a gratitude, stopped chasing the people who left her, and started helping those who silently suffered, just like she once did. True happiness is not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. Life will never be free of sorrows, loss, or disappointments, but we always have a choice in how we respond. The story teaches us that peace is not handed to us by perfect conditions. It is built slowly through acceptance of what cannot be changed, gratitude for what remains, and kindness shared with others even when we are hurting. We often wait for life to get better before we allow ourselves to smile. But the truth is, sometimes life gets better because we choose to smile. In the quiet moments in life, simple acts of giving, and in the strength to let go without hatred, we find a kind of joy that no situation can steal. Choose that joy, not because life is easy, but because your heart deserves it.